In this next video, we're going to take a look at the data to see what the data looks like and figure out a plan for how we're going to need to wrangle this data to get this in a condition so that we can begin our assessment of the data and our future analysis. So there'll be things that we need to do, such as format the data, remove columns, hide columns, and so forth. So in this video, we're just going to look through the data and develop a plan for what we're going to do to wrangle the data. So before we begin our data wrangling, what we're going to want to do is go through the data here to see, kind of develop a plan of what we're going to do to prepare the data for analysis. So up here right now is the survey data. I have this loaded in an Excel spreadsheet. And you can see, based off our last video, I have a tab for the description of the data. And then I'm going to keep track of the notes here. Is going to be I'll record the different steps in which I make changes to the data. Here's the data itself. And then I also will create some reference data, and that will be my lookup tables that you'll see shortly. But first, looking at the data, I see that there are several columns here that were not included in the data that I was provided. So this will be data that's really not part of the data set. So I'm going to end up deleting those columns. I also see several columns here, that really are not going to be relevant to the analysis, but since there's data in it, I don't want to delete that data. So what I'll end up doing is hiding that data. I also see right here term name. Term name is something that might be relevant to some people, but it's a kind of a type of code. So what I'm going to want to do is convert that term name to a year and a semester. That's kind of, that term name combines both fields. So what I'm going to do is create two new fields, one for term and one for semester, so I could interpret that so it's easier to use the data. And similarly, I have a field in this data, this campus abbreviation that has an XO. And XO is indicating an online section, and main would indicate something that's done at the Duluth campus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another field that's going to be more of an easier to understand campus title rather than this campus abbreviation. So that will make it a little bit easier to interpret the data as well. There's also several columns that I would like to use different column names. So I'm going to rename some of these columns as well to be a little bit more meaningful. But otherwise, the data looks in pretty good shape. It has a lot of the things I'm looking for. So there's just going to be minimal things that I'll need to do. And that's kind of an overview of the data. Now the next step will be begin to kind of execute this plan. But what I'm going to do first, though, is to document what I plan to do. So in the notes column, this will be my plan that I've kind of recorded here, kind of outlining step by step the items that I'm going to do to prepare or wrangle the data, prepare this for analysis. And this is really important for reproducibility. So if somebody else received this raw data file, they could follow these 9 steps here, and then the data would be in the same condition that I'm going to be using for my analysis. So it's really important that you document your steps here, and that's what that notes tab here is on our spreadsheet. So next, we will go ahead and execute this set of data wrangling procedure to prepare our data for analysis.